Good morning. Good morning, everyone. This is Evangelist Patricia Juba, founder of A Life Worth Living Corp. And I am super excited to introduce our guest on this morning. She is an author. She is a podcast host. And there's so many more things that make up LS Kirkpatrick. Welcome to A Life Worth Living's podcast, LS.
Thank you, Patricia, and I am so honored to be here. When you asked me to be on your show, I was like, yay! Because you offer so much to people. You have so much value that you give, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share what I have.
Thank you so much. I am ecstatic that you're here with us. And I'm going to jump right into the questions because I want to know more of Ellis Kirkpatrick. When did you
And
start? When did your writing journey start?
it actually started just a little bit before 2022.
Okay.
Um, my grandkids, I would tell them stories, and and it was fun because I was there, tuck them into bed at night when we're riding in the car, when they're over at my house, just being around them. And then we moved, and I
Mhm.
didn't, I talked on the phone, but it really wasn't the same.
Yeah.
And they still loved it, but I couldn't do the tickles and stuff, and I thought I need to do something different. So I started writing down stories for them, and then I'd mail them. And I thought,
Mhm.
oh, that's interesting. Then I started putting in a book like Vistaprint, Shutterfly, any of those where you just, print one or two books. And I would add, because I'm an avid photographer, so I would add pictures that I'd taken around where I live so they could see where it was and
Mhm.
put it with a story and then send it to them, and that was great. They even worked for birthdays, Christmas, things like that.
Mhm.
And one of the books I did, a friend of my daughter's who grew up with her and her family, were kind of all kids all grew up together. She's
Yes.
an amazing artist. In fact, if I for those who can see this,
Oh,
well, I guess you
nice.
can't. Right here above this one, you really can't see it because it's on a darker paper. It's a ballerina. She's an
Okay.
amazing artist, is what I'm trying to say. I mean, really amazing. And so
Mhm.
I asked if she would do the pictures for the book. Well, she did. And when we're done, she goes, Mrs. Kirkpatrick, please don't ask me to do that again. And I said, why? And she said, because it's not my typical genre. This is not the type of work I love to do. And she's a perfectionist. She wants to
Oh,
make sure it looks good, and they really do look good. So I did that book, and now I have it. It's a children's book called Writing Frogs in the Backyard.
okay.
It's not exactly the way it was in the book that they got, but it's a fun book, and it's just beautiful work. I had Winsome Duncan from Peach Publications in the UK help me publish the book.
Mhm.
Beautiful, beautiful way that they did that. Um, but from there, it's like, okay, so now what do I do? I had all of these stories that I wanted to do, and I put some on Amazon myself, and they weren't hearing crickets. They weren't even gathering dust. I mean, there was nothing happening. So I
Mhm.
went to a program that taught me how to run a business because I thought if I'm going to do this, I need to know how to run a business so I can take care of my books. And then it just kind of went on. I was in somebody else's anthology book, very
Mhm.
first time. And I loved it because the book is on Amazon, but all the proceeds go to a nonprofit. There were several of us that contributed to the book, but it's in story form. So she would have a prompt every month or I think that one was every month. And so you answered something like, I heard his key go into the lock. Now you have to write a story about it. And they're short stories, 80 words to maybe 200 words at the most. And it was
Mhm.
so much fun. And we did that. And I thought, I love this. I love writing with other people. So I did my first anthology, which is Modern Day Miracles Experienced by Ordinary People. And
Mhm.
just to show that miracles really do happen today, and it doesn't
Yes.
happen to only pious people or
Right.
um, something like that. It happens to just ordinary people. And my husband actually helped me come up with a title. I love that. But it
Mm-hmm.
was great and it was so well received and it went to #1 and I'm like, I'm hooked.
Nice.
Got to keep doing this. So I've got, 3 other children's books. I just released another one, released my first comic book. I shouldn't call it mine. It's actually my granddaughter's. And
Okay.
she did so well with it. It was my craziest summer with my friends. It's the title. A
Uh-huh.
lot of fun, a lot of fun. But the journey was not what I expected. The
Okay.
journey went from, yeah, I need to know how to get my book to get noticed on Amazon to this whole world that opened up that I didn't even know existed.
Right.
I'm an international award-winning speaker now. Never expected that. Shy me. I was so shy that my friend in high school said you could put me in a room with one other person and nothing else in the room, and you still wouldn't know I was in there. That's how shy I was. So for me
I
to
can
be on
relate.
podcasts, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I can relate.
And and so for me to be on podcasts, for me to have 3 of my own podcasts, for me to be a speaker and win an award, no less,
Mm-hmm.
is just I never expected when I opened that door what would happen. Now I'm producing a magazine called Wisdom on the Front Porch, which is also the name of one of the podcasts I have. And that's for entrepreneurs, helping them in their journey with the culture and then the lifestyle that goes with it, because many of them are at home with their kids. So how do
Right.
you harmonize everything that's going on with that? Um, and I meet so many amazing, wonderful people like yourself that I never would have met before. In fact, I probably would be staying home and saying hi to people at the grocery store and seeing my neighbors, but that's about it. So
Yes.
yeah, it was a great way to get out of being alone. Even though I had
Right.
family and other stuff, as you get older, um, and we move so much, even as a child and then as an adult, it's like I don't enjoy moving. I love being
Right.
in places, I love visiting people, meeting new people, but
Right.
the process of moving and starting over is more difficult because you don't have those common places to meet anymore.
Right. Exactly. You have to
Yeah.
reestablish and do a great shift. And
Yeah.
sometimes that shift is kind of painful, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean where we are now, um, it's tough. When we moved from around our grandkids to Idaho, it wasn't so bad because that's where my mom's family is. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had cousins everywhere. So if I'm going to do something, I just get a hold of my cousins. It was great. And it was still
Mm-hmm.
close enough that the family could come and visit, or we could go visit them, 6, 8 hours drive at the most.
Mm-hmm.
Now here in Texas, and we moved for my husband's work. He loves his job, and I'm so glad he loves his job. We have a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful place here. It's an older home, but that's okay. But we're really far away from even the little tiny town. It's 15 minutes drive away.
Mm-hmm.
Not easy just to go on a walk during the day or
Right.
something like that. And because it's such a smaller town, we don't have, some places have senior centers and event centers and all of this, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, that's another half-hour drive. So it's a little
Okay.
different, because even church is further away. And trying to find a new church where you're at, it's like, well, which one do I go to? So you keep trying
Right.
these different churches until, and sometimes it can get frustrating because you might have had a really great connection to your church back home. And now
Yes.
it's like trying to find that again. It's
Yes.
it's
It's
tough.
not the same. No,
No,
I
no,
do understand. I do understand that.
yeah.
Um,
And
no, go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say, we still can attend church online with the church back home, but which is good. I mean, it really is good. But on the other hand, you're not having that close fellowship with each other. And I think the reason that the Bible says to go to church, meaning the body, the people, is
The
because
people,
that's where
yes.
your connections are. That's where you're really being fed, is not
Yes.
just the words you're hearing on Sunday, but carrying it out throughout the week.
That's right. Actually living it.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
just hearing it, but actually living it in the love
yeah,
of the Lord.
yeah,
Yes. That corporate anointing is powerful when you can find
yes,
it, right?
yeah.
But
Oh, absolutely.
you bring the anointing with you wherever you
Yep.
go. Isn't that right?
That's right. That's
That's right.
right. Yeah.
Can you share with us, Ellis, what are your messages in
My
your
message
book?
is always value, always value. The
Okay.
one I say the most is we all have value in us, no matter who you are. And I can say that with 100% confidence because your
Yes.
value comes from all of the choices you've made in your life.
Yes.
You know, how you acted or reacted. And it might include choices that other people have made that have directly affected you and how
Mm-hmm.
you acted or reacted to that. But all of that together is your value. And it
Yes.
is that value that makes you worthy. It is not the job. It is not the
That's
work you
right.
do. It is not the lack of a job or any circumstances going on. It's what's inside of you that really matters and that makes you enough. And that really is what people want to hear. They want to
Yes.
hear you, your voice, because you come at things from a different perspective than another person does.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. And when you've got 100 people doing the same entrepreneurial job, there could be 100 of us out there doing podcasts, 100 of us out there
Yes.
talking about value, but each person brings what's unique about them into it. And that's what makes
Exactly.
it different. And that's why we can all reach a lot of people because what is there, 9 billion people on the planet and in outer space? We have to include them now on the space station and X is going up with all of their stuff. Um, that's a lot of people. You know, even if
That's
you
true.
get 1% of that, you're, I mean, what's 1% among a
It's
hundred
still
people?
a
Yeah.
lot. It's still a lot. I always say, Alice, that there's room at the cross for us all. We don't have to try to
Absolutely.
carve anybody out. We don't
Yeah.
have to stomp on somebody else's vision, dream, or
Oh,
parade,
yeah.
whatever, the circumstance is, because there's room at the cross for us all.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And
Yes,
God gives us a purpose.
that's right.
And and we go, oh, but I don't know what my purpose is. It's like, well, the Bible tells you, you know, it tells you, go tell others. It can be that. It can
To
be,
share, right?
and it's praying. There's three things he requires in prayer. You rejoice, you
Yes,
give thanksgiving, and you ask. It's petition. And it's not
yes,
like, oh, give me, give me, give me, give me. He's not a genie in a
exactly.
bottle,
That's right.
but it's a petition. And I thought, well, that's an interesting word. And I think it's either Philippians or Thessalonians that talks about that.
Hmm.
And it's like, well, what does petition mean? I do what I always do when I hear a word, even though I know what it means, it's like there's something, I bet they mean something more. So I looked
Right.
up petition and it's like, well, if you're going to a government to petition for putting in a stop sign on your road, are you going to go up to that government and just go, please, 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 please put a stop sign in my road? No, you're
Exactly.
going to say, look, this is why I need the stop sign. This
Mhm.
is the benefits of having the stop sign. And so we need a stop sign. And it's like if we presented our request to God that way, I think one, we would become clearer in what we really are after and why we are after it. And then by being clear ourselves, we can say, all right, God, the one thing we need to remember though is this in your will? Is this
Exactly.
according to what you say? Is it going to be good for us? Because God knows whether it's going to be really good for us or not. And
That's right.
it's frustrating sometimes to not get what you're praying for, but sometimes you have to wait, which means somebody else has to do their part before he can give you what you want, because
That's
we're all people here. We're all connected. It's that energy, whatever you want to call it. It's all connecting us together.
That's right. How he originally wanted us to be, to work
Yeah,
corporately, to love
yeah,
corporately.
yes.
Families are not just our blood relations.
Oh, yeah,
It's our
yeah,
spiritual connections as well.
yeah, most definitely. And I love
Yeah.
it because I can call you my sister, and I know
Yes.
when we get together, it's going to be big hugs again.
Yes, exactly.
And I love
Exactly.
that. Yeah, yeah, there's no, I noticed that I look at the world differently, and I think part of it is the way I was raised.
Hmm.
Is I really was raised on the golden rule. You used to see it in schools all the time. It was on this ruler, and I always thought it was something that came from somewhere. I didn't know where it came from. Well, I found
Hmm.
it one time in the Bible. It's in Matthew. Do unto
Yes,
others as you would have them do unto you, which means
exactly.
if you want people to treat you right, you treat them right, you
Correct.
know? Yeah.
Correct.
And it's
No
like,
matter what,
yeah,
no matter
yeah.
what. I grew up on that rule as well.
Oh, yeah. Makes a difference,
Yeah,
and
there's more to life than me. We're
oh,
only
yeah,
a fraction in this world. And we
yeah,
need to make the connections that God has already ordained for us to have.
yeah. And that
Yes.
sounds a little scary. It's like, what? I'm nothing but a robot or a puppet? It's like, no, that's not it at all.
No, that's not it.
You still get your choice. You still have the
That's right.
freedom of choice.
That's
But he
right.
says, I'm giving you these choices. This is really super good for you.
Yes.
These are the other things that are okay for you. This is really not good for you, but you still get to choose which one you take. Just like we give our children choices.
Right.
We say, this is really good. You can have the dessert now, but you got to eat your dinner because if you just eat dessert, it's not going to be good for you. We don't
That's
want
right.
diabetes. We don't want all these other problems that can come with that.
Hmm.
So you need the other things too. But and that's just an analogy. That's not.
Right.
I got to tell you a
No,
story.
I understand. Not the exact science. It is an analogy, but
Yeah,
it's a good one.
it
And
is.
most people can relate to it. I shouldn't say everyone because then I'm putting
No,
everybody in the same box. And
yep,
that
and
is
that's not
never my
true.
intention.
No, no. It's amazing. I have only been to just a few other countries, but I see a lot of things, on documentaries, on
Yes.
watching other people in different cultures. National Geographic was huge when I was a kid, and seeing how
Yeah,
people
me
are
too.
and seeing their different
Yes.
cultures and hearing how they think, and it's very different, and I love it. I
Yes.
absolutely love it because I when the first time I went really out of country, not counting Canada or Mexico, but I went to Taiwan. My husband was working there. He was going to be there for a few weeks. So once
Hmm.
I finished school, I was able to go with him, and that was great. And we went, and I'm
Hmm.
every day I'm walking around everywhere. Do you want the concierge would say, "Do you want me to get you a taxi?" It's like, no, I want to walk because that's where the people are. If I'm in
Right.
a taxi, where am I going to go? I don't know where
Right.
anything is. So I just started walking around the area. I was at beautiful, beautiful weather. It was wonderful. And I always felt safe where I was. I never went out at night because nighttime is very different. But during the day, I went everywhere and I'd see this market and I found this. We still had film cameras, there wasn't digital yet. So
Yes.
I found this little photo shop and they developed my film, within 1 or 2 hours and make doubles of it. And one day, the gal there, they were all like, I don't know, 18, 19 at the most. And the gal
Yes.
says, "That's my church. That's where I go to church." Because they had these beautiful ribbons. It was one of the things they were celebrating. I don't know what it was. So I took a picture of it and I loved it. The other thing I did is because I got duplicates, it was just automatically you get duplicates. The pictures I took that included people, and I tried to be very respectful of people.
Hmm.
I took that and I would go back to where I saw them and give it to them
Oh,
and let
nice.
them know why I was taking their picture because I couldn't speak the language. It was
Right.
very frustrating not being able to converse that way. And one gentleman who his job was to repair shoes, tennis shoes, anything. He was repairing shoes. And I handed him the photo and he was thrilled to pieces. I mean, it was like I gave him a bag of gold. I couldn't believe it. It just touched my heart so much to know that I could give a gift to somebody. And see, there I was giving value from myself.
Right.
And I did that to others. And it was just the most amazing thing that has ever happened in my life. And I always try to do something like that, do something unique when I go to somewhere. Israel was amazing. I actually got to
Wow.
work on an excavation while I was there.
Oh,
And
nice.
just because that was kind of in my background, and they said, okay, we've got something you can do that's not going to
Hmm.
foul anything up if you make a mistake.
Okay.
But I would walk anywhere and I could talk with people. And at
Hmm.
first I was scared because in Israel, you see all of this military carrying
Hmm.
guns, young men, young women. It's part of their culture. The first year out of once they turn 18 or something, the first year or 2 years, they have to go into the military to support their country, which I think is a really great thing. But you see them around there, but yet you don't feel threatened by them. What really scared me was all the bombs and everything I kept hearing because we're close to the Gaza Strip. And my
Hmm.
husband gave me great advice. He said, if you see somebody in a trench coat, everybody else is in shorts, you walk the opposite direction. If you see
Okay.
all the locals on the beach and they're sitting there having fun, don't worry about it. If you see all of them go, you go get into your safe room because the hotels
Hmm.
all had those there. So it was just kind of realizing what was going on. After the third day, it's like it was no big deal. Okay, I'm used to hearing it. It's all going on, watching everybody around me. But I think
Hmm.
that's it, being aware of
Yes.
everything. And I think when we deal in business, whether it's writing books or podcasts or anything, if you're aware of what's going on around you, it
Hmm.
just makes life so much easier, so much more calm, more de-stressed. And I
Right.
love being de-stressed.
Exactly. Don't we all?
Yeah, yeah. It's no fun being worried about everything all the time,
Right.
and it's so hard on your body.
Yes. So I am super thrilled that you have made the decision to be in the second edition of Through My Mother's Eyes. Can you just share
Yes.
with us what made you, what inspired you to come aboard and be one of the co-authors?
Well, you did, to be honest. I love your energy, your life, your personality, how you look at everything. But the title also, Through My Mother's Eyes. Um, I am actually going to write about my grandmother
Okay.
because my grandmother had this life that most of us do not have. At 3 years old, she's the second born, so it's her and her older sister that were asked to take care of things on the farm. Now, life was different back then. As soon as you're walking, you're doing something. You're scrubbing, you're helping out, whatever. That's just the way it was back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So
Mm-hmm.
at 3 years old, she would pull a chair up to what they would have for a sink and do dishes. And that just always blew my mind. I thought, wow, that's incredible. Now, if you knew my grandmother, she was always happy. She
Mm-hmm.
was always had a smile on her face and she just light up her room.
Mm-hmm.
People loved her and my grandfather. You know, she loved playing games, but she was a competitor. She would not take it easy on you just because you're younger. I mean, she might a little bit
Yes.
at first, depending on your age, but once you're a little older, boy, she's going to play those games for all she's worth. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, and it was wonderful. But here she is, 3 years old, and then as she's older, about 8 years old, she's carrying one baby on her hip. Her sister's carrying another baby on her hip, and they're setting the table and preparing everything. I think she came from a family of like, oh gosh, I should know this by heart. I did our family history, but I think of about 13 kids.
Wow.
And so it was her responsibility to help take care of the younger kids.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing she did is when my grandfather went blind, or her grandfather went blind, she would take him for walks. They would go walking, on the trail, amongst the trees, wherever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And to hear her talk about her family, you just felt the love in it. Now, they were in Nebraska at the time, and the first time I went back to Nebraska, I saw her family, and I
Okay.
was excited. I loved it. I actually thought they were my dad's family because I was pretty young. I didn't understand about everything. I thought, okay, my
Right.
mom's family's in Idaho, my dad's family's in Nebraska. Kept it separate. Well, that wasn't the case.
Okay.
But anyways, we get together and they're short like me. I mean, I
Oh,
was so tiny. When I was in fifth grade, they thought I was starting first grade. That's how tiny I was. But
okay.
they were short, but they loved each other. They loved to sing. They laughed, they joked. I mean, there was just such joy to be around them.
Mm-hmm.
And they loved me. You know, it didn't matter who I was. They'd never seen me before, but they loved me right away.
Right.
And that was just powerful to me.
Yes, it
It's
is
like
powerful.
I wasn't this nuisance little sister, you know, the last of all of the kids in my family, and almost the last of all the kids and the cousins, you know. So I wasn't this little annoying kid who's always in the way, you know, always getting in
Yes.
the grown-ups' way. It's like, wow, they love me. And that carried through as I got older,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they still wrote to me. My aunt sent me a photograph of a painting she'd done, amazing artist, and she told me all about it. And it was just, it really touched my heart that she thought of me to do this.
Yes.
And and I think, you know, it's so easy to love somebody,
Yes, it
even when
is.
they're difficult to love. You still show them love. You know, you may not like their actions and you let them know. It's, you know, I do love you, but I don't like your actions. Somebody said that to me one time. It goes, well, how can you love me? Because this is who I am. I says, no, who you are is inside here. These
That's
are
right.
things that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I may not agree with what you're doing. I may not like that you're doing that, but I still love you.
Right.
And, and I know that's hard for some people to understand, but there's a
Yes,
difference
because
between,
loving and agreeing with your actions are two polar
yeah, yeah,
differences. The love comes from your heart despite.
yeah, yeah. And we're all able to change. Not that I
Exactly.
want you to change, you know, I'd like you
Yeah.
to live a life that's going to bring real happiness and joy to you. But you know, and it is sometimes it is hard to love somebody who deliberately hurts you or damages other people. But in
Right.
that point, you just give them to God and say, look, God, I can't love this
Exactly.
person. Maybe you can love this person through me. But, you know, that's why we can walk away. We're not God. We don't
Yeah,
have to be
that's
God.
right.
We don't have to love everybody in the world, but we can
Mm-hmm.
have God's love for them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
So, let's tell us, what else do you do besides your writing and besides your podcasting? Is there anything else you want to share?
Besides the writing, the podcasting, that occupies a lot of my time. Well,
I bet.
yeah, we're on a 10 acres. It's a little small. We had 40 before, and that was amazing. So
Mm-hmm.
in the past, we would train horses. Don't do that now. But we have four longhorn cattle, just amazing animals. Very
Right.
different from dairy cattle, very different from your regular beef cattle. They've got this unique personality. It's kind of like the difference between a llama and an alpaca. Alpaca are herding animals like birds. You know, you see it
Mhm.
on Jurassic Park where the animals are running together and swooping.
Right.
Llamas are more like a dog. They've got these, and alpacas can have personalities too, but llamas have these very distinct personalities, and they're so much fun. And I'm thinking, you know, maybe longhorns are that way, but that's kind of off topic. So we have these animals. We're raising a puppy now. It's a service dog for my husband. So I've got our other two dogs, and there isn't much that I don't like to do. You know,
Okay.
I've got my certification in scuba diving. I've been parachuting. I've flown
Right.
airplanes. I've ridden motorcycles. You know, I'm
Nice.
going today to get my CDL for driving the fire trucks and the rescue trucks for the local fire department. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, I
That's
climb.
amazing.
there's not much I don't like to do because life is so full of amazing adventures.
Yes,
And
yes,
and I think that's part with the writing is you just get all of this creativeness coming out of you just from the world around you, and you've got to get it out. And I think that's why I particularly love children's books because you can just say the most outrageous things to make them laugh or to give them
hmm,
joy or to show them how wonderful the world is or how to be kind to each other. It's,
right,
my next book, Baxter's Heart. And on the cover is a little boy reading a book while he's leaning up against his German Shepherd out in a meadow. I have this amazing artist for this. Oh, she's just wonderful. But Baxter's
right.
Heart is about what happens to your pet when it dies
Okay,
and what happens to the other pets in your home when that pet passes on. Get my
right.
words right here. It's why I have an editor. But
That's
but
fine.
yeah, I mean, it's like most people don't realize that if you have more than one dog in the home, the other dog is going to mourn the loss of the one that's gone. Its buddy is missing. Same with
Okay.
parrots, with sometimes with reptiles, and other pets. So
Hmm.
how do you negotiate this? It's 5 book series starting off with Baxter's Heart, which is the one about the dog, and that actually came from a lot of real life experiences that happened in our family. Then,
Okay.
I talk about parrots, we go lizards, we talk about the classroom pet. And then the 5th book is actually about a cat, but it's a farm cat. And this farm
Hmm.
cat is in charge of all the other animals, as many farm cats are.
Oh,
I've
okay.
never had an inside cat, but an outside cat, I know about those. And yeah, they take charge. And so the last one too is, well, most of them are all going to have personal experiences, but we talk about going behind the veil, crossing the rainbow bridge, going to
Hmm.
heaven. What does the Bible say about it? Um, and I don't go into that too much because there are so many other religions out there. So I actually only have like 2 Bible verses that talk about animals and leave it at that.
Hmm.
But the one about the cat is a farm cat who it's not about the loss of that cat's life, but it's helping the other animals understand when I think it's a cow that passes away, and how
Okay.
they all say goodbye. And I don't want to say too much about it.
I no, no. Yes, I don't want you to reveal. I just want to know
Yeah.
there's more to LS
Oh
Kirkpatrick.
yeah. There's a lot more to me.
Yes, I
I
know there's
love
a lot more.
speaking. I do. I love speaking about adding value. I love telling stories. I talked about how business is like Peter and Jesus and the fishing boat. And you'll
Yes.
have to just talk to me to find out more about that
Oh,
story.
yes.
But it's really incorporating our life into how we present what is inside of us to the rest of the world. And
Yes.
there's so many people that have felt ignored, felt like their voice has been cut off,
Oh,
that
yes.
feel like they're nothing, that they don't have meaning, and it's really not true.
It is
That's the lies that
absolutely
the
not true.
enemy wants you to hear.
That's right.
And and sometimes it's scary to get out there, and sometimes we get overwhelmed. There's times when I've been on podcast after podcast after podcast during the day because I let my guests schedule the times that they have to talk.
Hmm.
And if I don't purposely put a time in my calendar to take a break, I am so exhausted that I almost can't do anything the next day because I
Hmm.
just pour so much into this and I love my guests and I love what they have and I
Yes.
want them to have the best as you do. I see what you do.
Yes,
You always want the best for everybody.
I do.
And so there's times we have to pull back. So we don't all have to do everything that I do. We don't all have to go
Right.
out and be speakers. We don't all have to do podcasts.
That's
I
right.
mean, you could do podcast one a week and that's it. Just do one. You do
Hmm.
it, you're done with, you've got the rest of the week to process it and go through it. And it's a great tool to do that. Um, and writing is a great tool. Boy, what don't I
Yes.
do? I'm
Yes,
painting
the
right
writing.
now.
Are you?
I I've tried to do painting type artwork. I did a little with watercolors and it was okay. But I am doing this great big picture of a longhorn that
Okay.
has got flowers on its horns and on its back, and there's a fence and it's eating grass, and I'm trying to make it look realistic. And the idea came from, and I love this because ideas come to us in the most sometimes we don't even know it's an idea yet, but I was out taking pictures, with the cattle because they're just so interesting to me. And
Okay.
I've got one that's standing amongst these little purple flowers in the field. They're thistles, and it's eating away, and it's kind of, there's some behind it, some in front of it. And I thought that's a beautiful picture. Then I see, and I have no idea where this calf got it, but
Mm-hmm.
interlaced in her horns is this fabric flower thing. It's like a vine, and it has a little pink rose on it, and it has, the big green leaves, and it's
Mm-hmm.
wrapped around this way, and it's wrapped on the other side. And I don't even have any of that around here, so I have no idea where it came from. And
Okay.
she's just eating away, so I got a picture of her. And then every year the Longhorn Association has a fundraiser for nonprofits. And so they take paintings and other things. And I thought, I would love to do a painting of a longhorn. Okay, that's not quite all of it. I was in at Michael's or in, I don't know, in one of the stores. And
Mm-hmm.
I saw this picture of a longhorn, just a longhorn standing there, nothing behind it. And it was a painting. And I thought, wow, that's really pretty. I like that.
Uh-huh.
And then as I'm going through my pictures, I see the one, our longhorn standing there with the flowers and the other longhorn with that plastic stuff on her head. And she did let me take it off of her. But I'm thinking, wow, that would make a really good picture. So I started painting. And on one of my podcasts, I talked about how I was able to do a painting that I've never done before. You just make little squares of the picture you have and you
Yes.
just do one square at a time. Isn't that what we teach in our business? Just take one step at a time. You're going to run a
That's right.
podcast, just do one thing at a time. You don't have to go out and get all the expensive lights and expensive
Right.
microphones and everything else. If all you have is your laptop, that's all you need. Go outside and do
Yes.
your podcast or whatever. Put a towel behind you if you need to just to get started.
That's
Um,
right.
but it's just taking that one step. And so it was really great to be able to do something like the painting that one, I'm learning a new skill.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I found a way to share it with others on how they can do something. Three, it gave me a great podcast talking about, not all of us are meant to do the same thing, but that doesn't
That's
mean
right.
we can't try. That reminds me, you'd said something earlier about our dreams. And I want to say this because I want other people to hear it. My daughter was told that her dream was a pipe dream and she should just forget it.
Oh
And I
boy.
understood the person that said it
Wow.
was trying to protect her from getting hurt, from doing too much, from going overboard. But at the same time, it made me furious
Mm-hmm.
because telling somebody not to go after their dream, what I mean, we don't have the right to do that. Yes,
Correct.
we do have the right to give our opinion on something, but to discourage them from not dreaming, too many people. And the first time I heard this, it was, I was like, what? How is that possible? Where is the one place where there are more dreams than anywhere else in the world? And it's a cemetery.
It's the cemetery. Yes.
Yeah, because once
Yes.
your dreams
Yes.
die with you, they can't ever be held. So take that one step. I think that's where this is coming from. You take that one step, do that one little thing first. See if you even like it. See if this dream is something that, yeah, it's fun to imagine and daydream and have it, but do I really want to make this a reality? And try it. And sometimes it doesn't work, and that's okay. Doesn't mean you should quit.
That's right.
Maybe it just didn't work the way you did it the first time, because if it's a dream you really want to do, Find somebody who's already doing it. Talk to
Right.
them. Ask them
Exactly.
what their failures are. Why? Because that's where we learn. If you only ask about the good things they do, then you're only getting like 1% of the story.
That's
You
right.
need to find out about those failures. What do you do when the time gets really hard? Steve Harvey is really great at giving this talk. He goes, "You're already 100% a success." Because think
Mhm.
back on your life, on those times that you never thought you were going to get through something, that it was
Yes.
so hard, you didn't know how you were going to get through it, that it was painful and excruciating, but here you are today. Here you are
Yes.
right now. And you went through that and you came out on the other side. So you're a
Exactly.
100% success. So
Yes.
just take that first step, that one little thing, and give something a try.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That is awesome. That is
Oh, thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you, LS. How can our viewers get a hold of you?
The best place is my website, www.lskirkpatrick.com. I'm also on Facebook. You'll either see it as LS Kirkpatrick or Writers to Readers, writers as in writing, the number two, and readers. And and it's because my LLC is Writers to Readers LLC, and you'll see my
Okay.
logos on things too. But that's really the best way is just going to my website.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you
Oh,
for
thank
this
you.
beautiful interview. I love talking with you, and we will be connected again.
Thank you. And thank you to your audience for letting me come into their day. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day on
You
purpose.
too.
Okay.
Absolutely. You make it a great day. All
Okay.
right. Thank you.
Okay. Bye bye.